Hi, you're awesome, you know that? Yeah, you are great. I'm glad to welcome you to Real Tales and Trails, where we blow your mind with amazing stories. So, expect another really interesting and captivating story. Let's begin. See you at the end.
The house at the edge of the woods. There was a house, perched eerily at the edge of a forgotten forest. It stood isolated, its dilapidated walls covered in creeping ivy, and its windows like hollow eyes that had seen far too much. The locals always spoke of it in hushed tones, warning travelers to stay far away. Some said the house was cursed, others that it was haunted by something far older than anyone could imagine. Sarah had heard the stories her entire life. As a child, her grandmother would tell her to never go near the house, especially at night. Bad things happen there, she'd warn, her eyes full of fear, as if something in the very air around that house was wrong. But as Sarah grew older, the stories faded into whispers, and curiosity began to creep into her thoughts. Why had no one ever gone inside? What was so terrible about it? One cold autumn evening, when the sky was painted with deep shades of purple and orange, Sarah decided to visit the house. It had always intrigued her, and now that she was an adult, she was determined to discover its secrets. The sun dipped behind the trees as she walked down the narrow path leading to the house. The leaves crunched beneath her boots, the only sound in the eerie stillness of the forest. The air felt thick, as if the very earth was holding its breath. When she reached the house, its dark silhouette loomed against the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch toward her. The front door was slightly ajar, and she could feel a faint chill seep from the cracks, beckoning her to enter. With a mix of excitement and dread, Sarah pushed the door open. The smell of mildew and decay hit her instantly. Inside, the air was damp, the walls covered in peeling wallpaper, and the floorboards creaked with every step she took. The house felt alive, as if it were watching her, waiting for her to uncover something long buried. She explored the house room by room, the silence pressing down on her like a weight. It was as if time had frozen here, the furniture abandoned as if someone had simply walked away and never returned. But the deeper she went into the house, the more unsettled she became. There were strange markings on the walls, symbols she didn't recognize, etched into the wood with something sharp. In the back of the house, she found a staircase leading down into the cellar. The air grew colder as she descended, the light from her flashlight flickering like a heartbeat. The walls were slick with moisture, and the scent of earth and rot filled her nose. At the bottom of the stairs, she saw an old wooden door. It was partially open, revealing darkness beyond. Unable to resist, Sarah pushed the door wide and stepped inside. The room was small, the air heavy, and in the far corner, there was an object that made her stomach turn, an old rocking chair, its paint chipped and worn, rocking gently back and forth despite the stillness of the room. It was as if someone, or something, was sitting there, rocking, waiting. Her heart pounded in her chest as she approached the chair, the floorboards groaning beneath her weight. She reached out, her fingers trembling as they brushed against the cold wood. Suddenly, the chair stopped rocking. The silence was deafening. Then, from the shadows, a voice, soft, almost a whisper, spoke her name. Sarah. She froze. Her blood ran cold. The voice was unmistakable, familiar. It was her grandmother's voice. But how? Her grandmother had died years ago. Why did you come here? The voice asked, distant yet so close. Before she could react, the room around her seemed to shift. The walls closed in, the air thickened, and the door she had entered through disappeared, swallowed by the darkness. She was trapped. The rocking chair creaked once more, and then, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a woman, her face obscured by the darkness, but Sarah could feel the coldness of her presence. The figure stepped forward, revealing pale, gaunt skin and hollow eyes that seemed to pierce through her very soul. Do you remember me? The figure whispered, its voice like the wind rustling through dry leaves. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. It was the woman from the stories, the one who had disappeared years ago, the one whose soul was said to haunt the house. Her grandmother had warned her, about the curse that had kept the woman's spirit trapped in the house, forever seeking someone to take her place. The figure reached out a hand, its fingers long and skeletal, and Sarah felt a chill so cold it numbed her to the bone. The air seemed to press in on her, suffocating her, and the shadows in the room began to twist and writhe like living things. Suddenly, the figure's face shifted, and for a moment, Sarah saw her grandmother's face, twisted in anguish. "You should never have come," the voice whispered, now a mournful cry. The ground beneath Sarah's feet seemed to give way, and she fell, her scream swallowed by the darkness. The next morning, the house was silent once more. The door creaked in the wind, and the shadows of the forest seemed to stretch a little further. But Sarah was never seen again. The locals still whisper about the house at the edge of the woods. They say that sometimes, if you listen carefully, you can hear the faint sound of a rocking chair in the distance. And if you're unlucky enough to be near the house at night, you might hear a soft whisper calling your name, urging you to come closer, to find out what happened to Sarah. And that's the story of the house at the edge of the woods. A story that ends with a warning: some secrets are best left untouched. Some doors are better left unopened. For there are things in the darkness that we were never meant to find.
Welcome back. That was an awesome story. I hope you really enjoyed it and learned a great lesson. Please don't forget to subscribe so you be the first to know when we upload new stories. Please subscribe to Real Tales and Trails. Subscribe at Real Tales and Trails. Thank you and see you in our next story.